What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Body Lock. It's your man, Ant Walker, here with the homie Matt Wells. And we got some interesting news coming from one UFC president, Dana White, courtesy of an interview with TSN's Aaron Bronsteter. Dana says that he is looking to put together Colby Covington for the winner of the fight between Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. So looks like Covington will be getting the next title shot if all things go as planned. Matt, what's your reaction to Colby being back in a title fight?
It's not surprising. I guess it makes sense for him to be next in line, considering they went ahead and booked Leon versus Nate Diaz for some reason. So I guess the next logical person is Colby Covington, since he won his last fight against Woodley. The most interesting thing about this quote per se for me is that if Usman wins, that tells me if Masvidal wins, they're going to run it back and do a trilogy. So I guess that's kind of good in a way, because it shows respect to Usman's legacy with the belt, his run with the belt, that he would be deserving of an immediate rematch, which I am in favor of in this situation. I like it, though. I do like, go ahead and say it. Let the fans know what you guys are planning. I don't like when there's murkiness and uncertainty when it comes to the title picture. So I do like the fact that you went out there and said, or that Dana went out there and said that Colby would be next in line. And I'm not mad at it. Nothing else really makes sense. Like I said, Leon's booked up. Gilbert just lost at number 2. And Stephen Thompson is just, I don't know what he has to do to get another title shot. So, yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to me.
The thing is, I think Colby makes more sense than Jorge in this position, for sure. If you were going to select any recent rematch for Kamaru Usman coming up, Colby Covington would be the obvious pick, considering that he rebounded with a win over Tyron Woodley, and Masvidal has yet to fight. But I still think this is very premature. I mean, yeah, Leon Edwards is booked versus Nate Diaz, but he's fighting Nate Diaz. So for two reasons, that seems really premature. One being that I think the smart money is on Leon Edwards to win that fight. And two, Nate Diaz is a star, and there is potential, like it did for Masvidal, that you can beat him and gain a significant level of stardom and mainstream attention, which means, well, that makes a Leon Edwards, potential title fight sound a lot more valuable than it did beforehand. So it just seems like they're rushing the gun with this one. And quite frankly, I mean, we've had Colby Covington get promised title shots before, and he's been left out in the cold. In fact, left out in the cold with a belt, with a fresh belt around his waist, and still on the outside looking in for the undisputed title. So I think this is just more Dana being Dana. I don't really hold a lot of weight in this statement.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. You know, hashtag Dana said is a thing because he says things all the time that never actually come to fruition. But I mean, in this case, I don't see how they could really go in a different direction, you know, unless if Colby gets hurt or something. Like I said, or unless if, you know, the fight between Usman and Masvidal has some weird result or shelves those guys for a while. Worst case scenario, I could see like Usman and Masvidal getting hurt for a long period of time, and they have to do like an interim situation. Like that's the absolute worst case scenario for me. But then who would you put Colby in there and against in that point?
Probably Leon. And then, like you said, Wonder Boy is waiting around for something to do. So, so there are options there. I just think this is jump the gun, man. Because can you imagine Leon Edwards goes out there and absolutely sparks Nate Diaz, like with the full capacity crowd in Houston watching that, and it was at the Toyota Center.
Mm-hmm.
the visual of that, and you mean this guy is going to then just go back in the line and rank and file? That just doesn't make any sense. Covington, while he has kept his name relevant by just kind of making an ass of himself in a lot of ways, we still have the recent memory of his jaw being broken by Kamaru Usman.
We should, at least.
We should. I hold that image very dear to my heart, by the way. But so I think we really are rushing. If we're just going to say Colby is going to get Usman if he wins, or I think it makes more sense if Masvidal wins for him and Colby to fight, because I think that's a lost opportunity. That's the fight that should have been made for those two anyway, in my opinion. But yeah, man, we got to see what happens in Houston before this becomes canon.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I would say I don't think. I mean, obviously, if Leon were to go out there and spark Nate Diaz, that would just be incredible. I see that being a real, not necessarily a competitive fight, but I could see Nate being Nate and lasting, taking a ton of damage as he does. But that's neither here nor there in relation to this fight. Colby, though, I could see him sitting on the shelf and really doing his thing with the media if Dana does back down from this. Regardless of that outcome of that fight, if he does end up going a different direction, I could see Colby being insufferable in the media, and probably rightfully so. Because what should you do if you're currently ranked number one? If rankings are to mean anything, you won your last fight, you're ranked number one. I mean, what else do you have to do in these divisions, man? I get that the UFC, they're really trying to put together the most intriguing fights that will sell the most. And I know that Colby Covington took a hit, just like Jorge Masvidal took a hit in popularity over the course of the election year and everything like that. But, since they hitched their wagons to that so tightly and then ended up, eating crow after the fact and slowly backing away like nobody saw me do that. But let's be real, though. Inside the cage, Colby Covington is absolutely one of the best in this division, if not the second best behind Kamaru. So I don't know if he really necessarily needs to prove himself any more than he already has, but it'll be interesting to see the politics play out behind the scenes. Yeah,
the behind the scenes should be pretty interesting, considering what the behind the scenes have looked like in the past when belts have been on the line between the UFC brass and Covington. So I'm really just not sold on this. Like, beyond the fact that, the hashtag Dana said, it's just that we have too many plates spinning right now. To have Wonder Boy out there, I think he's recovering from an injury right now, but for him to not be booked for a potentially damaging fight between Usman and Masvidal just on the horizon in a few days, and God knows what, anything can happen in a fight, so you don't know how long anybody's going to be on the shelf there. And then to have this guy, Leon Edwards, on such a massive unbeaten streak and about to take on a very high profile opponent in a very high profile event, it just says we're premature with believing that this is exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I would love nothing more than Leon to go out there and spark Nate Diaz, get on the mic, say, "Give me my title shot," and then they just rip it away from Colby. I would love it. I would love it.
And quite frankly, that's kind of what I'm expecting. That's really what I'm expecting this time around. So if I'm wrong, then okay. I'm okay with it in the sense that Colby should be in this place that Jorge is now. And that's the only consolation prize for me. But give me Leon Edwards with the win over Nate Diaz.
I'm with it, man. I'm with it. I'm curious to see, what these folks in the comments have to say. I know we have a lot of Colby supporters on our channel sometimes, it seems.
But they're gonna love you.
Oh yeah, they're gonna love me. But I am curious to see what people are thinking, because listen, the welterweight division, one of the best ones right now, for my money at least with the champion that is Kamaru Usman. Love to see that man compete. My goodness, can't talk. Love to see that man compete. I think he's one of the best. Like you said, he's approaching that GOAT status. He's approaching it. He's a lot closer than a lot of people want to admit, but he's definitely knocking on the door. And I think with the win over Masvidal, again, won't do too much, but I think a win over a guy like Leon Edwards, who's been on such a streak, even though he already has a win over him, he also already has a win over Colby. So he's in this rematch area right now.
He's cleaned up the division already, essentially, and that's an interesting place to be with someone who just very, very recently got that belt, just 2 years ago. Captured the belt from Tyron Woodley. So just drop what you think should happen in the welterweight division in those comments. Does this make sense? Does Colby Covington being next in line make sense to you? Where do you see things playing out in your dream scenario? Who is where in the title hunt? Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell that friend to tell 10 more friends. This is the Body Lock.